merciful. Master the day of judgment in which we now live, thee alone do we serve, thine aid do we seek. Please, Allah, guide us on the straight path, the path upon whom thou hast bestowed favors, not the path upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray if they're hearing thy teaching. Ameen.
I mean, okay, fantastic. First of all, we want to thank everybody for coming and allowing yourself to take time from your busy schedule and to be a part of the LTS network. LTS network, learning the science of the mathematics in the subjects we teach on. We are the knowledge brokers for LTS. We appreciate those who have come this evening. Joining us, we have Brother Lukman, the math theologist, Brother James, the student and LTS historian, Brother Dr. Wadud, the MD and master electrician. I am your commentating valet, Brother Ibrahim, the healing visionary and futurist. We have united to give you a different mathematical angle of the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad under the guidance of the honorable brother minister Louis Farrakhan Muhammad. We are going to help you become computational thinkers. Now, what is computational? The act or action of computing, calculating, a system of calculations, especially by mathematical means. And we understand Islam is mathematics, and mathematics is Islam. Calculation, a mathematical determination in finding a way. Allah's universe versus Satan's universe. One is using the knowledge to build something that is life-giving. The other one is using the knowledge for control and deceptive deviation from the nature of God. Which one will survive the war of Armageddon? Since the first God created himself in the flesh, we've had a delayed growth for 78 trillion years. That delayed growth is from the beginning of time. Everything that you are bearing witness to today was set in motion at the beginning of time to fully manifest itself in this day and time. Our ancestors for 78 trillion years have prayed for this day, hoped for this day, wanting to be here on this day in which we live now. In order for anyone to rise, you must go down in order to go up. There must be pain in order to gain. These experiences are part of growth. However, individuals can still find ways to develop spiritually through self-reflection, personal study, or seeking online communities that they find more conducive environment. The LTS network is a community that teaches mentors and helps individuals by opening up a more broader scope through supreme wisdom and supreme technology. A critical key point to our network is that we are developing a digital, disruptive, educational training ecosystem. This is where the LTS network will show a variation of mathematical paths to reach the truth and the correlation between supreme wisdom and the tech through Dynetics. Now, we want everyone to understand there's rules within the conquest. These are the rules of engagement. We use deliberative dialogue. Dialogue is a meeting of on the person and the basis of equality, means of the thou and the I of self, and the we as a family of Muslims. We come together respecting one another. Each segment of our show is 500 seconds. That time frame is referenced from the light of the sun and the time in which it takes the light to travel from the surface of the sun to the surface of the earth, which is 8 minutes and 20 seconds. Questions are to be controlled. A person cannot just randomly speak. They have to be given permission by raising their hand and by being acknowledged within the chat and typing their question within the Zoom. We do have a period in time where we open up and we allow you to communicate with us and express for 90 seconds that statement. While being on the LTS network, you must turn on your camera so we can see who you are. And once we acknowledge and seen you, then we will give you permission. If you need to cut off your camera, we understand. We ask that you please keep your phones, your computers, laptop, whatever you're on, muted, especially if you're going to be speaking to someone in the background. Right now, I need for everyone to take the link that was sent to you that you join this Zoom call tonight and to share that with at least 5 people right quick. And within that process, we give you 30 seconds and we will move forward in about 30 seconds. All right. So please forward that link to whomever you have access to. And we appreciate that. This is our fourth show. And we're going to begin with a quote from the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan. The female God, mother, is the representative of God. From when you first come out of the womb, you cry, and she, mother, answers by giving you comfort so that you stop crying. You are hungry, and she feeds you. You need your diaper changed, and she cleans you. Mother is the second self of God, the female God. We're going to deal with some questions and answers, but right now we're going to give and share some information, study guide, understanding the origins in humanity and divine reflection, uh, the nature of creation and divine identity. The Holy Quran, Surah 112, Al-Ikhlas, the unity, states that Allah, God, neither begets nor is begotten, emphasizing the uniqueness and self-existence of Allah. The first God was the originator of himself, not begotten by anything else, establishing divine independence by bringing together 9,999 other existing parts to form himself and this universe. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to go forward and we're going to begin with this first part. And that is a question for the knowledge brokers of LTS. We will start with Brother Luke Mon in what is the foundation of Islam?
Assalamu alaikum, family.
Alaikum salam.
Like Samson.
Before I address this question, um, I would like to stimulate uh, class participation, I guess you could say. Um, if each one of us can either get our hands on a dictionary, either via your phone or actually handheld, we can start this phase of the process. So I need everyone to grab a dictionary.
Yes, sir.
See, I might have to use my phone because all my books are packed away already. So, and what I would like to do is before we address this question, first, I would like to clear the term. What is the meaning of the word foundation? In word clearing, we do a thorough, I guess you could say, a thorough examination of the word. And once we have our dictionaries and once we have looked the word up, whoever wants to read the definition that they have, we can begin there. So we'll clear the word foundation first, and then we'll proceed with answering the question. Who would like to begin?
I'll
can
do
be.
it.
Okay.
Foundation, the act of founding. Number two, a basis such as a tenet, principle, or axiom upon which something stands or is supported. Number three, funds given for the permanent support of an institution, endowment. 3B, an organization or institution established by endowment with provision for future maintenance. Number four, underlying base or support, especially the whole masonry substructure of the building. Number five, a body or ground upon which something is built up or overlaid. And number six, a cosmetic usually uses a base for makeup.
Okay. Thank you, Brother James.
You're welcome.
Sister Jordan, what do you have for foundation?
Assalamu alaikum, family. I just
Walaikum
wanted
salam.
to make a small addition. The version of the dictionary I have says the lowest load-bearing underlined part of a building, typically below the ground level. So I thought load-bearing was an interesting addition.
Okay, like the foundation of a house. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Sister Jordan. Anyone else? Is
All
Brother
of
James?
those,
Go
all
ahead,
of
brother.
those definitions encompassed what I saw as well.
Okay. How about we have some other of the students give us their definition of the word foundation? I know Brother James, Brother Wadud, and Sister Jordan aren't the only ones that have a dictionary, so who else would like to participate?
You may have to call on them, good brother.
Well, I don't want to call on people. I was kind of hoping we would just volunteer just to start the energy flowing, but let me go with Brother Charles. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Charles. Can you hear us? All right, let's go to other. You're on mute, Brother Charles.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Like
Walaikum
salam.
Vincent.
salam.
But this brother Vincent.
Okay, go ahead, Brother
Uh,
Vincent.
my definition was the same as I think as Sister Angela, the lowest part of a. Let me see. Um, it was. Let me go back to the dictionary part. Oh, here you go. Yeah, the lowest. It's a noun. The lowest load-bearing part of a building, typically below ground level. That's what I got.
Okay. Thank you, Brother Vincent.
Well,
Sister Sophie, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, brother. I
How are
have,
you?
I'm doing well, thank you. And all of you? It's nice to be here
Well,
again.
Yes, ma'am.
you.
Okay, I have foundation. It's a woman's supporting undergarment. It's a corset, endowment. It's stone laid with ceremony to celebrate founding of an edifice as the basis. I'm sorry, do you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Loud and clear. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am. Brother Diedrich, assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum salam, sir. Um, I got the same thing as to lay a base for or establish. And also, if you want, I'll give the etymology meaning if you
Yes,
don't
sir.
mind.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, the etymology is it is rooted in fundus, meaning bottom or base,
That was what was that? Yeah, after you said fundus, what was the word you said after fundus?
meaning bottom or base.
Bottom or base? All right. Praise be to Allah. And we'll go with Brother Daryl. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Daryl. You're on mute if you're trying to speak. Okay, we'll keep moving. So if we look at those definitions and we look at the question, what is the foundation of Islam? I guess for us, we would have to be more precise in our response. So I'll answer it from my perspective. When we say what is the foundation of Islam, uh, we could look at that from the standpoint that Islam, if I, well, let me put it this way. I'm gonna put a little pressure on the students tonight. What is the said birth record of the Nation of Islam? Who would like to answer that?
The said birth record of the Nation of Islam, it has no birth record, no beginning, no ending.
Right. So really the foundation of Islam is Allah himself, correct?
That's right.
Yes.
Um, Now, if we want to look at it from the perspective of, from a religious standpoint, the foundation of Islam, and I think it's Surah 5, ayat number 3, it says, "This day I have perfected for you your religion and chosen Islam as a religion," correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now we have to ask ourselves the question, and if anyone has this answer, I remember this vaguely, but if anyone has the precise information, I remember hearing the minister teach on this, that did not pertain to the time of Prophet Muhammad, because at that time the Islam had not been perfected, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
So I'm gonna throw the hot potato to Brother James and ask the question: do you ever remember Brother Jabril speaking about that specific ayah about when Islam was perfected, which would be the foundation of Islam for us in this dispensation of time?
I heard Brother Abdul Allah teach on Islam and how Prophet Muhammad and the scholars, he particularly talked about Muhammad Maulana Ali when he was doing the translation of the Holy Quran. He did not put certain things in because it conflicted with his belief. And he said one of the things that was revealed, it was talking about and that which would be revealed to thee, and that which would be revealed after thee. So he said that meant that after Prophet Muhammad, it would still be something to be revealed. But the Arabs didn't agree with that because, in their mind, Prophet Muhammad was the last prophet. Well, he is the last prophet, but he was the last messenger in the seal of the prophets. So they left that part out. Well, he didn't leave it out. We can get the words right. He gave it a different interpretation, and I'll find it. I can't find it right now, but I know it's in the it's somewhere in Surah 2 in the Holy Quran.
Okay.
So that shows that Prophet Muhammad, he was just one of the latest proponents of Islam when he
Mhm.
showed up and he gave the name Islam to it. Not that Islam wasn't around before him. Islam was around way before the coming of Prophet Muhammad, because Islam is the nature of God. That's why it's not even called a religion. It's our nature. That's what says given to you as a religion. But yeah, Brother Abdul Allah, he dealt with that, and I will find that clip because I know that's one of the clips I have saved, and I'll send it to you later on.
Thank you, Brother James. What is an easy way to bear witness that the worship of Allah predates Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, peace be upon him? What's a real easy way to prove that? Anyone? Brother Ibrahim?
Bilal, who he saw in the marketplace being stoned, saying, La ilaha illallah, there's no God but Allah.
Okay,
Showing that, and he was from Ethiopia.
okay, that's one. And there's one more, so we have it for the record. Another way to prove that there was the worship of Allah prior to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Anyone like to take a shot at it?
Mm.
What was the name of his father?
Will Abraham be when Abraham went and he knocked down that big statue in that temple, and then
We could use that too. We could use that too. But there's one that is real obvious, is right in front of us. and some of us probably have missed it. It's the
Alphon
name of, it's, huh?
Alfonso?
Oh, no, 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 no. Prophet Muhammad, not Master Muhammad. What is the name of Prophet Muhammad's father?
I never knew that.
Should be Abdullah.
What did you say, Brother James?
Is it Abdullah?
Yes, sir. Which
Yes,
which
Abdullah.
it which means Abdul Allah, right?
Yeah, Abdullah. Yeah.
So then that so there
Servant
had to
of
have been a
Allah.
worship before Prophet Muhammad because that's the name of Prophet Muhammad's father,
Yeah,
Abdullah.
Abdullah. Muhammad ibn Abdullah. Muhammad, son of Abdullah.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
Brother Lukman, sir, did you want me to read Surah 5, Ayat 3?
Sure. Why not? Yes, sir.
Okay. It says, forbidden to you is that which dies of itself, and blood, the flesh of swine, and that which any other name than that of Allah has been invoked, and the strangled animal, and that beaten to death, and that killed by a fall, and that killed by goring with a horn, and that which wild beasts have eaten, except what is sacrificed on the stone set up for idols, and that you seek to divide by arrows. That is transgression. This day have those who disbelieve despaired of your religion, so fear them not, and fear me. This day have I perfected for you your religion and completed my favor to you, and chosen for you Islam as a religion. But whoever is compelled by hunger, not inclining willfully to sin, then surely Allah is forgiving, merciful.
Thank you, Brother Ibrahim. Now, has anyone ever heard the minister teach on that, referencing that ayat to the modern time and how it did not refer to the time of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him?
No, sir.
Okay, that means I gotta find it so we have the actual facts on it. I'll search for that while everyone else is discussing the questions.
You yield, sir?
Yes, sir, I yield.
Okay. I'm like brother Dr. Wadood. The
Wa
question,
alaikum salam, sir.
yes, sir. The question is, what is the foundation of Islam?
Yes, sir. And to all of the participants, as the question is posed to myself, the LTS members have wanted to include and involve all of you in this discussion tonight. And so while Brother Lukeman had you look the definition up, I would like to ask each of you to just give me your own thought, give maybe 30 seconds of what you say, and there's no right or wrong. We want to hear from everyone because we are all children of these teachings and growing and can grow from one another. So if you wouldn't mind, give 30 seconds or so of what you feel the foundation of Islam is, or how you understand that. Would
Thank you,
anyone
Brother
like to
Wadu.
start?
Brother Vincent?
Mathematics is Islam, and Islam is mathematics.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay.
Sister Sophie?
Yes. Islam started with the law of God Himself.
Yes.
God, mathematics. Okay.
What is the other names there? Can you see them?
Sister Jordan and Brother Dedrick.
Okay. Sister Jordan?
Yes, sir. I would say I consider prayer to be a foundation of Islam. The ministers taught us that if we didn't pray, that Allah would not care for us. So pray.
Mhm.
Excellent, excellent. And Brother Dedrick.
Yes, I said the same thing. I said prayer, mathematics, and the restrictive laws of Islam. Because I feel
Okay,
that the restrictive laws of Islam is love itself.
okay.
It's the law, yeah.
Very good. Excellent, excellent. So all of those definitions have a link and tie to one another. They're all applicable, and I would say they're all fundamentally correct. And so my contribution to answering the question would be, at the root meaning of Islam is peace. And so if we think of Islam being peace, and we think about Sister Sophie's reply, in that she said it's the law. Well, in the creation, Allah gave law which established peace among his creation. So we've heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teach on how the planets stay in their own orbits. They don't fight to get into different orbits. So Jupiter isn't fighting with Saturn, and Saturn isn't fighting with Neptune. There's peace among the planets and these heavenly bodies as they revolve around the sun. There's a law that regulates that. That's the mathematics that Brother Vincent talked about. And then peace. We've been taught how when in despair, we go into prayer and we can find ourselves being calmed down from whatever that distress or that anxiety is, just in having communion with Allah. So at the foundation of Islam, peace, math, law, prayer, and love would be the definitions of what I would say, and the rest, along with the rest of the participants here tonight, sir.
You yield?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Brother James?
What is Islam?
Yes. What is the foundation?
Islam. Well, Allah, God, is the foundation of Islam, but Islam is everything. Sun, moon, stars, planet, everything in the universe. Without Islam, you absolutely have nothing. And that's why even in the lessons, lesson number 1, question 9, at the end, that's what it says. You know, planets are something made from the beginning. Yeah,
Yes,
grown. Yes,
made or
thank
grown.
you.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
grown or made from the beginning. But Islam is everything. If you remove Islam, you have nothing. Nothing in the universe. You don't have a universe. You don't have a God. You have nothing without Islam. So Islam is absolutely everything. That's why we're taught Allah, God, is the only reality. Everything else is temporary. We're here for a minute and we're gone. Even the planets, they'll stay around trillions of years, but they're gone after a while. The only thing that lasts forever is Allah, God. Nothing else in the universe. Nothing. Allah, God, truth. Yeah, so Islam is everything.
Yes, sir. Yield?
I yield.
Yes, sir. Okay. To the LTS knowledge brokers. The next question is that was number 1. 1A is, what is the origin of how everything began? We will go back to you, Brother Lukman. You wanted to finish another statement, though. Am I correct?
Not yet. No, sir. Not that I
Okay.
can think of.
All right. Well, then that
Um,
question is, what is the origin of how everything began?
Well, I'll just answer that one briefly. When we deal with our teachings and we hear how the Most High Elijah Muhammad described the origin of everything, he teaches us that there was a consciousness that existed in the darkness. You know, Allah existed, and that then there was that first sparkle of light, that first particle that began to rotate in the darkness. Um, so the origin, to answer it briefly, uh, is the original black man. You know, and in our lessons it says, "Maker, owner, cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe."
Mm-hmm.
And when I say this in memory of one of our dear brothers, may Allah be pleased with him, Brother Robin. Brother Robin one time shared with us how when you look at the first question of our student enrollment, he said if you look at that like a cycle of action, and what a cycle of action is when you look at it from a, a change of a position, you have what's called start, change, stop. So in other words, you start an action, you change an action, and then you stop an action. And even though that's a term that's used heavily in Dianetics, um, that concept actually comes from chapter 10 of what they call the Bhagavad Gita. And it makes a reference to to three gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma being the creator god, Vishnu being the one who is the god that preserves things, and then Shiva is called the destroyer. But in the Bhagavad Gita, Shiva speaking, he says it doesn't represent three different gods. He said it represents one god in three different points in time.
Mm.
So that's where you get your start, change, stop from. But now when you have a change of condition, you have birth, you have growth, you have conservation, you have decay, and then you have death. So now when you look at the first question of our student enrollment, who is the original man, the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe? That first lesson or that first question of student enrollment actually describes us at different points in time. So when we begin as making things.
Good point.
Then as we grow into our Islam, we begin to own things. And what own means is when you control the movement of, or you control the motion of. When you own it, you possess it, you control it. After we begin to make and then we own, the next stage is the cream of the planet Earth. And we've been taught that the cream is that which rises to the top, correct?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the word cream in Arabic, the word cream in Arabic is safwa, Safwa. And in Arabic, one of the meanings or one of the derivations of the word safwa, it means to be clear.
Mm.
So once we make and then once we own, the cream, the purified ones will rise to the top, and they will be the ones that will become who? The God of the universe.
Go ahead.
Now, in the Tech of Dianetics, Brother Hubbard says that there's three universes. There's the universe in its entirety. Then there's your own universe, and then there's the universe of that other fellow. So my universe is different than Brother James's universe, but we both exist in the universe. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And he also says that part of what makes a person aberrated is that when you take on the gods that control the universe of someone else. So when we grow up in the church and then we choose not to, even though we hear the minister's words and we know Islam is good, we say, well, I can't join that because I want to upset because my family always followed this. See, that individual is following, he's stuck in someone else's universe. And what L.
Hmm.
Ron Hubbard said that when you're stuck in someone else's universe, then you are at the foot of the gods that worship that universe. And that's why we're aberrated in our universe because we're stuck in someone else's universe. But when we're the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, we become God of our own universe, meaning the things that we say kun fire kun, we bring things into existence in our universe. And as long as what we decide in our universe is in harmony with the one who controls the universe, then everything that we think of to manifest will manifest in our universe.
And how does that tie? You did it partially. You did a great job. How does
Mhm.
it tie into the tech? What you just said, those last parts.
Well, when you deal with the tech, there's something called when you deal with the tech in the very beginning of the tech, the main concern was getting into what's called the engram, finding the painful moments and then removing the pain from those moments so that a person can come more into present time. Because the majority of us, even though we're here and we're talking, sometimes we're here, but we're not here.
Mm.
We're in the Zoom meeting, and sometimes we, and I'm not saying this, I'm not, I know this occurs, and I'm not saying it now, I'm just saying in general. But some of us are here in this meeting, but we're so caught up with so many things. One of the reasons why we're off camera is because our body is present, but our mind is in 300 different locations right now.
Good point.
We're all over the place. And it's not a bad thing. It's just that all of us are crazy as hell.
Mm.
And it's not our fault. It's just the nature of things. We're here in this Zoom meeting physically, but from the time we started this Zoom meeting to this point in time now, our mind has been in 20 or 30 different places that had nothing to do with this Zoom meeting.
Yes, sir.
This is why sometimes we have to have people repeat the question. We have to repeat the question because when the question was first asked, mentally, we were on the other side of the continent somewhere.
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at what the tech does, the tech brings us back into present time.
Mm.
That's how it started. You get to the painful moments, you remove them to bring a person into present time. Then as the tech advanced, it became quicker, it became sharper, and it became more effective because he no longer focused on finding the pain in a person to remove the pain. He focused on increasing a person's ability to increase their self-determinism. So a person's self-determinism that would translate into our lessons or our teachings. In the tech, you have what's called be, do, and have. Has anyone ever heard that before? Be, do, have?
No, sir.
Okay. If you study the tech long enough, you'll come across that. Be, do, have. Well, all three of those are in the Holy Quran. Okay. When you look at be, we say kun fayakun, right? Be and it is, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Then Allah has an attribute. He is al-fa'ala. He's the doer of what he intends. And then Allah says in the Holy Quran that man will have nothing but what he strives for.
Mm-hmm.
So be do have is in the Holy Quran. So what he did was he fine-tuned the processing in Dianetics, which has its origin in the original black man, because he said this has its root in a group of people called the Asiatics. This is what he said, and we know who they are, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the tech was revised, and instead of going after the painful engrams, the processing was designed to increase a person's self-determinism. So now self-determinism is only on the first dynamic. That's dealing with the individual. But there's 8 dynamics altogether. So when you go to the second dynamic, that's the dynamic of sex and family. So we can say sex, family, and marriage. The third dynamic is the group dynamic. The fourth dynamic is humankind. Then when you deal with the fifth dynamic, you're dealing with life science. Sixth dynamic is called the force dynamic. That's matter, energy, space, and time. For us, that's mathematics, science, physics, and engineering. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
The seventh dynamic is when you deal with the spirit. And then the eighth dynamic is called the God dynamic. And for me, I say that one is a lot in person. That's just my personal how I view the eighth dynamic.
Yes, sir.
Now, you go from being what's called self-determined to what's called pan-determined. Pan. Pan means across the gamut. So once you and I become God of our universe on this dynamic, now we go out and we conquer all of the universe.
Yes, sir.
We conquer energy, space, time, mathematics, physics, chemistry, life science, marriage, family, spirit, God. we grow into God of the universe. So God of the universe in our lesson is one who is growing to master all 8 dynamics that's found in the text. And I will yield.
Good teaching. Appreciate that.
Praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir. Brother Dr. Wadud, what is the origin of how everything began coming through the medical and master electrician mind?
Mhm.
Yes. So in my effort to arrive at an answer to that question, I went into the theology of time because for me, theology of time, our Savior has arrived. Those books and that information uh, is linked and talks of the beginning of things. And so in the Theology of Time series, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad states that there is a force in the space of the universe that has power to bring up objects hidden in it to our view. And then in the subsequent paragraph, he talks of uh, the life germ finding a fine atom of water that was, and I'm quoting, that it found out there with it in the darkness of the universe.
Yes.
And so, as Brother James pointed out last week, and I heard it again this evening, there were 9,999 parts that Allah brought together to make himself into one. And so these atoms, when we sum all of those numbers, we arrive at the number 10,000. And if we use the word atoms, then if we go to a chemical periodic chart, when I first encountered chemistry, there were atoms on the periodic chart that were not yet identified. They were unknown, but they knew that they existed because, let's say, they identified atoms up to 98, and then they found an atom that they could identify as 103. And the way that they identify these atoms is based on their proton and neutron numbers, their atomic numbers. So they found these numbers, 98 and 103, but you know that there had to be a 99, a 100, a 101, and a 102 that had not been discovered at that time. What that says is there are many, and if we look at that number 10,000, there are many particles and atoms that are yet to be uncovered and discovered in this time span. My thoughts as I approach this question of the atom in space and having that many particles, atoms in space with it, as we know, there's life on all the planets. So could it be, and this is just a hypothesis on my part, that some of those other atoms are components of the other planets, that our periodic chart here that we use in chemistry has maybe 114 atoms on it. Well, that's 9,900 or 9,886 atoms short of the number that we're given that Allah brought together to compose himself. Where are those other 9,886 atoms at? And we know that there is life on other planets. And so my hypothesis, my estimation is that the orientation of those other atoms enables and equips them to have existence in other places than just here on earth. And I arrive at that conclusion from a quote that I remember hearing the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, or it was the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, say that mankind can make a craft and go to another planet in a contraption, is the word that was used, and they have a suit on, but they can't get out because they are not made of the atmosphere and the vegetation of that other planet. If they were able to get there, that life on that planet is germane to that planet. And so it's just that, in my estimation, those atoms of the original creation are dispersed throughout the space and the elements and planets of the space. Secondly, and very quickly, from Our Savior Has Arrived, on page 39, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad speaks of there was no light anywhere out of the total orbit of the universe of darkness. There sparkled an atom of life. He also talks about people who ask questions about where those atoms came from. He identified that the originator being the first, there was no one to mark time as to when things started for the originator, because he hadn't built himself up to make those calculations at that moment. So what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says is that we know that there was never nothing. It wasn't that there was never nothing. It was that those particles were there, but they were doing nothing. And it took the originator to call them together and give them function to produce something. So I yield at that at this moment.
Brilliant. Excellent. Appreciate that, my brother. Now, we're going to go, Brother Lukeman, there was a question that Brother Philip had. Did you ever get a chance to look at that, or?
Yep. I'm putting it in the chat right now.
Okay.
And his question was, in the terminology of Dianetics, there's a term that is used called the file clerk. And then he said, he's asking, could that be reference to the recording angel mentioned in the Holy Quran? That's an excellent question. I would answer that question in this way. And forgive me if I kind of pause here and there. This question is just so ripe with information that I want to share with the believers, because I've actually been studying this over the course of the past couple of weeks. If we remember study guide number 18, there's a reference to some structures in the brain that deal with emotion. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan mentions one called the amygdala, which when you study brain structure of the limbic system, that is the point, that's the center for fear and anxiety. Then I believe he mentions either the thalamus or the hypothalamus. But here's a real interesting thing. One day, the thought came to mind, and I believe this, and I can go on about this for hours and hours and hours, but I believe this wholeheartedly now, that when Allah says in the Holy Quran that He takes men's souls at night, and then some He withholds, and then death is those are those that pass away, and then some He allows to return. Correct? We've read that before. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. It is my belief that when Allah takes our souls at night and we're allowed to return, I believe that we return with an assignment. That's just my opinion. And the reason why I believe that is I keep a notepad next to my bed. And as soon as I wake up in the morning, 9 times out of 10, there's a real heavy question that's on my mind as I wake up. And I write it down really quick because we've all experienced where we've had dreams that were very significant, but if we don't grab onto them within 5 or 10 minutes, they just kind of vaporize and we can't recall them, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm building up to something with reference to this question. One morning, the ayat from the Holy Quran came to mind that spoke of the eight that uphold the throne, the eight that uphold the Lord's throne of power. And that is Surah 69, ayat number 17. And the reason why I remember ayat number 17 is because 1 plus 7 equals 8, right? I mean, that's really easy, yes?
Mhm.
So the question came to mind is, what if the Lord's throne of power represents our mind? Okay. So in this instance, what if we're the Lord that's being spoken of? Because our lessons say that Allah is the original black man. So we are all Allah, correct? That's Lost Found Muslim lesson number 2, question number 1. We are all Allah, yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So what if we look at that question, that ayah on a personal level, that there's 8 that uphold the Lord's throne of power, but we're the Lord that is being spoken of. So then I asked another question. I said, well, what if the 8 that uphold my mind represent 8 elements of the limbic system? So then I go to start doing my research. What are some of the major players of the limbic system? So you have what's called mammillary bodies. You have the amygdala. You have the thalamus and the hypothalamus. You have what's called this, I think it's called the cingulate gyri. You have the hippocampus. You have what's called the fornix, and then you have what's called I think it's called the septal sulcus. I think is what it's called. And what I begin to realize is these different aspects that L. Ron Hubbard was speaking about in the early 50s was actually referring to structures in the limbic system. And so when you read a lot of the books in modern time that are speaking about memory and childhood trauma, I might be wrong in saying this, but I'm gonna say it the way I feel it. I feel as though some of the doctors in modern time are just plagiarizing L. Ron Hubbard's work from the 50s. Because a lot of what they're saying now, he said it in Dianetics Book 1. But the one thing I did notice is the file clerk is in reference to an aspect of the mind that has the ability to go back in time and pinpoint the locations of specific events, correct?
Yes, sir.
That is actually the job of the hippocampus in the limbic system.
Mm,
So the hippocampus on one level could be called the file clerk.
excellent point.
So if you study the Dianetics Book 1, but you look at it with respect to modern references to memory, when you deal with the reactive mind and the effect of grief and anxiety, it has been proven that when grief and anxiety increase, it actually decreases our ability to use what's called the prefrontal cortex, which deals with memory. So it is almost as if, on one level or one degree, the prefrontal cortex of the brain could represent the standard memory banks. The amygdala could have something to do with what's called the reactive mind, and the hippocampus has something to do with what's called the file clerk. So to Brother Philip, could that be a recording angel? And I would say yes to that as well, because if you look at Surah number 1 and you go into the footnotes and it talks about the angels, I think it's Surah number 1. It speaks about the angels, but it makes reference to the angels representing the forces in nature, correct?
Yes, sir.
So would that not mean that there's forces of nature externally as well as forces of nature internally?
Hmm.
And we know if they're angels, then they so if we know angels are individuals, they control different aspects of nature outwardly, correct?
Yes, sir.
So what would we call angels that work internally? Could we call them enzymes?
Hmm.
Could we call them DNA? Could we call them like if we speak about different chemical processes that take place within the body, could we call them internal angels? Does
Wow.
that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Because
Gee.
there's forces that control the things that take place inside the body that we don't have any control over, correct?
Yes, sir.
And if
Mhm.
we don't have any control over it, there is something that is in control over the processes that take place in our body. The process that causes blood to clot. There's a process that causes the heart to beat. There's a process that causes us to breathe. We don't control those processes. So could the chemical processes, could the internal programming represent a whole host of angels on the inside? So to Brother Philip's question, could the hippocampus be considered a recording angel? And I would say most definitely that's a great question. And I yield.
Wow. Praise be to Allah. Appreciate that, beloved. That was necessary. It was on point, and we appreciate that. Brother Philip was having some issues coming on board. I think he's just now able to get in. So, first of all, want to give the greetings to Sister Angela. Assalamu alaikum. And Sister Sharon was there for a minute, but I had to
I
give.
had to give. Walaikum salam, sir.
All right, beloved.
For Allah's grace and mercy, how are you, sir?
All praise to Allah. We're well, family. We happy to see you here.
Happy to be here. All praises to Allah. Happy Savior's Day.
Happy Savior's Day, family. Okay, so we're going.
And he taught me a lot of things. Remember, he lived with Honorable Elijah Muhammad for 6 years. And he shared with me many things. And also, he put my mind more into a scientific approach. So when I was sick for a while, I couldn't do anything because I was basically confined to the house. I started getting more into a scientific aspect.
Brother James?
That was not me speaking.
Huh?
That's my voice, but that's a recording from somewhere else. That wasn't me just talking.
Okay. Oh, that's a little different. Okay, brother.
Yeah, that's where I am. Like, where'd that come from?
Uh, I couldn't answer that one. Would you like to answer, family? Um, would you like to answer the question? Do you want to repeat it, brother?
If you can repeat it, please.
Yes,
That
sir.
was weird.
Okay. What is the origin of how everything began?
The origin of everything beginning is Allah when he created himself. He created time, and time began when he began. And that was the origin of the universe. And it all started from that cell. Everything comes in creations in threes, as Brother Jabril said. So, page 146, it says, excuse me. No, God was created here on the earth, but the earth was not as it is today. So you had an atom earth, atom water, and an atom God. They all came together because he needed a place to live. And that's why I say if you can find the origin of water, you find the origin of God. Or if you find the origin of earth, you can find the origin of God. And God, when he created himself and called the sun into existence, he had to be black in order to withstand the heat from the radiation. Otherwise, he never would have survived.
Yes, sir.
It took the sun 6 trillion years to shine. So you didn't get your first writer until the sun shined because you can't write in dark. So it took 6 trillion years for us to produce the first writer in the Nation of Islam. And that was 6 trillion years after the creation of God himself. So the origin of everything is Allah. And I yield.
Yes, sir. Brother Dr. Wadu, did you answer that question already, sir?
Yes, sir, I did, and I have some additions that I could give as well.
Yes, sir. Please.
From the writings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in speaking of the origin, he states that Master Fard Muhammad told him that that original cell, everything within it is also without, meaning on the external. So we've heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan talk about the macrocosm, which is everything in external, exterior portions, and the macrocosm being out and large, and then the microcosm, think of the word microscope, being on a smaller level. So a cell, a single cell, it has a nucleus within that cell, which is another compartment where just the DNA resides. It has different organelles within it. Uh, uh, Endoplasmic reticulum and Golgi and these different populations of organelles. They're smaller cells, if you will, inside of the cell that carry out specific functions. So I would just add that to the discussion and the conversation.
Excellent. Thank you, Brother Dr. Wadu. We appreciate that. Now, Brother Lukman.
Can I add something to that?
Yes, sir.
It goes back, this goes back to what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says on page 90 of Message to the Black Man. He says, before you consider your religion, I think he says, before you say religion is true, you should study all religions and their scriptures. And it's interesting because when you look at how the first God is described as being made up of three parts, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you look into a religion called Shintoism, and Shintoism is a religion primarily in Japan. It founded, if I'm not mistaken, in Japan. I mean, it's worldwide, but its roots are in Japan. And there's some that say that Shintoism can be anywhere up to like 10,000 years old. And when you go into the origin of Shintoism, many times when religion is given, it's written in stories that are made up of metaphors, similes, and allegories. And the root of Shintoism, it begins by three self-created beings that come together that produce all the other beings. And there is a Shinto practitioner I once listened to, and what she said was that when you really get into the heart of Shintoism, it's really talking about quantum physics. And that might reference in quantum physics where you have these three particles or three quarks. And the quark is supposed to be the root of everything. So here you have, and from our perspective, we have Allah creating itself in triple darkness based on in three parts. You have quantum physics talking about three particles that produce the other particles. And now you have Shintoism talk about these three gods that came together to produce all the other gods. And it just seemed like there's a common thread that is flowing between all three. And I yield.
Excellent point, sir. Okay. Now we're going into name. I'm going to give you the definition of this. I am Brother Ibrahim. I am your commentating valet. The power in a name refers to profound impact. A name has an identity, influence, and spiritual authority stemming from its connection to a person's essence, heritage, and the power attributed to divine or collective names. The name denotes your function and your nature. The name represents force and nature. Now, the question to the LTS knowledge brokers. You first, Brother Lukman. What power is there in the name Master Farad Muhammad?
I will answer the question in a way that I think Brother Dr. Wadud would appreciate.
Mhm.
I'm going to answer this question, but I'm going to use Ohm's law as a demo kit. So in Ohm's law, you have if you think of a closed circuit, you have basically four basic elements. You have what's called think of a battery, and the battery produces what's called the voltage and the current. So the voltage is the pressure that pushes the current through. And then your current will come in contact with a third element. Actually, there's five elements. The third element might be the resistance. So that current, that voltage has to have enough pressure to push the current through the resistance. Now, nothing happens if the circuit is open. So you have to have a closed circuit. And if all those things are in place, if you have the voltage, some of us remember back in the day when we had cassette players, and we can tell when our batteries were getting low because the songs were starting to slow down, correct? Exactly. So the voltage, and what that is the voltage the voltage coming to war with the resistance. The resistance is starting to win. But when your voltage is good and your current is strong, you push past through that resistance, and then the power of the light represents again, there's the word, the power is represented as wattage. Did I cover everything, Brother Doctor?
You did.
Okay. So the power, if we look at that as a demo kit, the power represents the ability. And I remember, and I studied this based on the words of the minister coming from building the will. He says, desire feeds the will, correct?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
So I looked at desire as the voltage, and I looked at will as the current. And then resistance would be doubt. And if our desire and our will is stronger than our doubt, then that would show the greatness of our ability to manifest the light, which is our power. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So
It did.
it's using Ohm's law as a demo kit to kind of answer your point. So when we look at the power in the name, if you look at it from the perspective of those three, I'm quite sure, and I don't know, I can't prove this. This is just an assumption that prior to when Master Farah Muhammad was going through his studies, is it possible that he had trials that he had to overcome in order for him to become the sovereign Lord of the universe?
Yes, sir.
Um, when you look at the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we know of his history. He was in the mud so deep that only his eyeballs were showing, correct?
That's right.
And there was a time when they found him asleep on the train tracks. So we know, based on the example of the minister and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we see the manifestation of power because we know the stories of what was beforehand and then what was and what is the result.
Good.
So the power in the name represents individuals that have overcome resistance, both internally and externally. And sometimes, because if you look at the formula, I equals V over R, I representing the current represents the voltage that's divided by the resistance. Well, the thing is, if you want to increase the current, it's the same as auditing. You can either decrease the resistance or you increase the voltage, correct?
That's right.
Okay. Decreasing the resistance means removing the aberrated mind, removing the
Mhm.
charge that's contained in the engrams. But increasing the voltage represents increasing a person's self-determinism. So there's two ways to get a person to get to clear. You remove the baggage from the past, or you make them strong in the present. And that's the power in the name, because and I
Mhm.
think all of us have gone through this journey that we had a name that we carried before we came to the nation. We
That's
may
right.
have had a couple of nicknames before we came to the nation.
Mm.
When we joined the nation, our name changed and we received an X. And then some of us, our name changed and we received a Muhammad. And then some of us went through a name change where we got a first and a last name. But if you all know Brother Lukeman, but you don't know Tony. I don't think you would have liked Tony too much. Tony wasn't too bad, but Tony had a way, and I'm talking about myself. Tony had some ways about him back then, and I had nicknames back then that described my character back then.
Yes, sir.
And I think being that I think we all have a history and we all have those nicknames that we might have been called by. But the names that we have now show not only it shows the potential power that we have
Good
because
point.
we're in the school of those three. And some of us, when we begin to really see the true power that we have that Allah has placed within us,
Yes, sir.
I believe it will even stun ourselves of the things we're capable of. And I also would believe that if we could really understand and see ourselves in the way that others might see us, it would allow us to fall in love with ourselves based on the power that we contain. And I
And that
yield.
love that we would fall in with would be the God love for the God side.
Right. Some of us, we find it hard to see the beauty within ourselves because we're so hung up on the shortcomings that Allah has already forgiven us for.
That's right.
And we still hold on to it. And He let those things go a long time ago. He threw those things into the sea of forgetfulness for years, but we're still carrying it.
Yes, sir.
And yes, sir.
And you know you pretty much ran through what the power of the name is for the Masamba Elijah Hunter and Minister Farrakhan all in one.
Yes, sir.
You yield, yes.
Yes,
Brother
sir.
Dr. Wadood, all three. What is the power in the name of Master Fard Muhammad? What is the power in the name of the Muslim Elijah Muhammad? And what is the power in the name of the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan?
Yes, sir. Um, for those on the platform from the FOI side of the spectrum, we can maybe recall in former days how we were instructed. If we look at the letters that were inscribed on the uniform, WFD, and in physics, uh, the letters WFD stand for work equals force times distance.
Mm,
So in some FOI classes, we were instructed in that dynamic of work equals force times distance. And so those being the Master Fard Muhammad's initials, he came to do work by exerting a force across a distance or causing that object or whatever the work was being done upon to move a certain distance. Power. There are variations of the definition of power, and one of the formula for power is work divided by time. And so time, as we talked about in previous lessons, is a critical component in calculations, but we can also see how valuable or important that variable of time is when it comes to power. Power also has some other formula that it applies to, because you can look at power from different dynamics. There's the mechanical power, there's electrical power that Brother Lukeman identified. There's hydraulic power. There are different forms of exertion. There's chemical power. So it can be navigated or rearranged based on which dynamic you're looking at it from. And another formula is power equals force times velocity. Velocity is, again, a physics component of speed, how fast something is moving. So the force behind it and the generation of the speed that's produced is another form of power. So all wrapped up into the name of Master Fard Muhammad, the Supreme Being. It is so many ways to maybe look at that. We say Allah appeared in the person of, and another way of saying Allah, as I was taught in FOI, was the all in all. And so how can you extract anything but power and force when you think about the all, the universe of its totality, of all of its constituent parts and components? Allah being the all in all, as Brother James pointed out earlier, that's everything. That is everything. And so that there's nothing but power involved in that. Moving forward, the name of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I can only echo what I've heard of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan when he quoted the New Testament, that when the Jesus of the New Testament was on the cross, he called out, I believe he said, God, my God, but I stand to be corrected if anyone has another. So God, my God, and then the onlookers, I believe the Roman soldiers, said that, look, he calls for Elijah. And that's as far as I'll go with that, because I've never been in a ministerial class, and so I don't want to go any further with that. And then I'll yield there, sir.
Yes, sir. Beautiful, brother. And pretty much all those who are on the call, once again, we want to thank you again for taking your time. But we want to deal with and want you to understand the birth of life. They all were talking about the frequency in which you're vibrating on. And the birth of life involves pain and struggle, symbolized through the birth and unfolding of a flower, highlighting the process of growth and spiritual development. We have to make sure that we're studious, that we learn. We don't just memorize, but we're actually able to have knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And that wisdom is showing how you're moving. Understanding is bearing witness in the movement. And we're asking you to move your thoughts with the frequency and the vibration for life. We ask you to understand the importance, the role of the woman and the role of the man. Woman is created to complement and console the original black man. emphasizing the importance of relationships. Man and woman are meant to coexist in harmony. Moving forward, we're going to look at and ask some questions, answer some questions now. We're going to roll into all of you who are on the call, please. Those of you who have a question, Brother Lukman is going to handle this part, and I turn over to you. I yield, Brother Lukman, for the question and answer.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. So for me, one of the important reasons why your questions, family, are important is because Allah might have placed within you a thought, an idea, a cognition that represents the solution to what someone else was thinking. And the one question that you might ask might trigger a whole nother level of spiritual and mental evolution in your brother and your sister. So if any of the believers have any questions about any concept or subject or topic, we will do the best we can to answer that question. If for whatever reason we can't give you an answer that will thoroughly bring you to the point of your understanding, then that will become an assignment. And we will do what we can to get the answer, but then that responsibility also goes back onto the person who asked it to continue your study. And that perhaps when we come back together as family, we can provide an answer that might enlighten you, but you might provide an answer that might enlighten us. Because we, as Brother Doctor said earlier, we are all students in this. There's no, I would say it like this, there's no big eyes and little U's in this room. We are all students of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So, family, does anyone have any questions? Brother Wadud.
And if I could just dovetail on that, anyone's question, being that I'm also an instructor, I tell my classroom participants that your question most likely is not an isolated question that someone else may not also be having, but may not have the wherewithal in that moment to ask that question. So certainly bring your questions. And there are no ill-minded questions. All questions are valid.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Sister Sophie.
Yes, sir. Do you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, loud and clear.
You said the sun took 6 trillion years for it to be able to give its glow, to pass its rate. Was the sun created or was the sun made?
Excellent question. Excellent question. Brother James, you have some data for us from Brother Jabril on that one.
Yeah, the sun was created. The sun was created, and it took 6 trillion years for it to have enough energy to shine the way it is now. And so it was a process. And that was one of his after man, after himself and after woman, the planet, the water, then the sun came about in existence. Yeah, and that's what Brother Jabril said.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Could I ask
go ahead. Ma'am?
Could I ask another question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, in the Holy Quran on 2:30 says, and when the Lord said to the angels, I'm going to place a ruler in the earth. Was that God talking actually to the angels, or was that God talking with himself?
The answer to that question we can find,
You want me
if
to
I'm not mistaken, in study guide number 10. And let's get the actual facts on it.
you
Let's
want me
get
to
the
read
minutes.
that, sir?
Say again?
You want me to read Surah 2?
Go ahead and read that, and I'll look up I'll look up the response to that question based on the minister's words.
Okay, section 4, Al-Baqarah, Surah 2, ayat 30. And when thy Lord said to the angels, I am going to place a ruler in the earth, they said, wilt thou place in it such as make mischief in it and shed blood? And we celebrate thy praise and extol thy holiness. He said, surely I know what you know not.
Oh, praise is due to Allah. Uh,
Alhamdulillah.
I'm trying to find it, but what I remember the from the study guides is that these represented forces and powers that existed within him, God speaking, if I'm
Yes.
not mistaken. Um, I got to find the actual facts on that, but I'll address it from the perspective of the Dianetics. I'll see if I can see with, I'll see if I can tie that into the tech. Um,
You want to take a moment, Brother Lukman, to do that while I go to the next one and on to Brother Dr. Wadud and Brother James?
well, I'm gonna address it. I'm gonna address it from the tech first, and then I'm gonna try to
Okay.
see if I can find it. But the God placing a rule in the earth that would cause mischief and shed blood. That is study guide number 10, if I'm not mistaken. Um, Give me 1 second. That is study guide. Yes. Okay. So study guide number 10 starts out with Surah 2, ayat number 30. Placing a ruler in the earth that will cause mischief and shed blood. When you look at that from the perspective of the tech, we could say that a ruler has been placed in us that
Mm-hmm.
would cause mischief and shed blood, correct?
Yes.
Now, what would that be from the perspective of Dianetics? How could we marry that statement to the tech to give it some relevance? Go ahead, Sister Sharon. I see your hand going up. Did you want to answer the question?
That would be engrams.
Yes. You get a gold star, Sister Sharon. So when you deal when you deal with the engrams and realize the engram bank is not just one engram. It is a collection of which could be hundreds of engrams. So if it's hundreds of engrams, it could have hundreds of personalities in it, correct?
That's right.
It could have hundreds of circuits or verbal commands in it, correct?
That's right.
So that engram bank represents the totality, but we sum all of that up under the name of reactive mind, right?
That's right.
So when you look in the book of Mark in the Bible, when Jesus was speaking to the crazy brother, he says, "What is your name?" He says, "My name is Legion, because we are many." He was referring to himself individually as a composite of many personalities.
That's right.
Okay. And that really is, we could say, if we wanted to tie our Islam and understand that through the lens of the Dianetics, then as Sister Sharon said, the engram or the engram bank or the reactive mind could be that which was placed in us that would cause mischief and shed blood. But Allah knew what the angels knew not. There was a reason why all that had to take place. And the answer to that is found in Lost Found Muslim lesson number 2, question number 38. Why did God make devil? So that's if you take out the word devil, you can input the word reactive mind. Why did God make the reactive mind? Because you and I have to show forth and prove that we are all wise and righteous. Does that make sense?
Yes,
That
sir.
we could give the devil, which has caused us to become weak and wicked, and it was given power to rule us for a certain amount of time. And then in one day, we would destroy the devil in ourselves without falling victim to the devil's civilization. Why? To show forth and prove. Sister Sharon is all the way the lesson goes, show forth and prove that Allah is God, always has been, always will be. But if you input your name there, it's to say, so Sister Sharon could prove that she's God. always has been, always will be. Brother Ibrahim is God, always has been, always will be. Each one of us can put our name into that lesson because that lesson is a formula. So if you put your name into the formula, then you'll produce the codomain. Then you understand who you are or who we are.
Come
Does that
on.
make sense, family?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good point. Good teaching. Um, wow, that leads right into, and it's so phenomenal that you did that, brother. Um,
By Allah's
Brother
grace,
Dr.
brother.
Wadu, were you about to say something, sir?
Well, I was, as Brother Lukeman had referenced, going to the self-improvement study guides and finding that information. I had it here with me, and I was just going to read
Praise be to
whatever
Allah.
was going to be looked for.
Go ahead, brother.
Okay. So, what is meant by, I'm quoting from Study Guide 10. It's the second question. What is meant by placing a ruler in the earth? Quote, I am going to place a ruler in the earth, not on the earth, but in the earth. Where did you come from? Your flesh is from the vegetation of the earth. Your bone is from the stone of the earth. Your blood is from the water of the earth. This lump of flesh and blood and bone has to have a ruler in it, something that commands it, something that, and it is underlined, dominates it. God is going to form this body, and he knows that you are supreme above the sun, moon, and stars, above all the creatures. You are the supreme existence, man and woman. He is going to place in you a ruler. In Hebrew, ruler means Elohim or God, divine essence, will, divine force. God shares himself with man and woman. The only reason you can say I is because the true I has shared a part of his I am with you, that you may be. He, Allah, God, places in you a power from himself. And then the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the study guide, he gives a reference to go to Self-Improvement, Volume 1, page 16, paragraph 4 and 5. Now, as I read these two paragraphs, keep in mind what the initial question was, and let's see if these referenced paragraphs connect for you. So the paragraphs on page 16, 4 and 5. These steps are absolutely necessary. For after we finish the self-improvement series, we will review the books and writings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the lessons given to us by Master Fard Muhammad. For what purpose? To see more deeply into their words to us, out of which will come a mature expression of their wisdom. Fifth paragraph, underlined, all capital letters. Intellectual cowardice. Fear of the unknown restricts movement into new fields of knowledge. Intellectual cowardice is the fear of delving into what we have been taught and going beyond our immature expression of the wisdom of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, what stood out for me with the initial question was it that Allah, who knew what the angels didn't know, saw intellectual cowardice in them for what he was going to place a ruler in the earth, that he knew why and what this ruler would bring out, whereas the angels were they had trepidation and fear of what he was about to do, which is actually the next question in the study guide that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan answers. And I yield at that point.
Great point, brother. I did a great point.
Excellent.
All praises due to Allah.
We were going because you this is real beautiful, brother.
There's another hand up in question, sir, not to interrupt you.
You what?
Brother has his hand up to ask a question.
Okay,
I believe it's Brother Philip.
Brother Philip.
Brother Philip, you there, brother?
He's trying to get off.
Trying to come out Zoom. Come off mute. There he is.
Walaikum salam.
In reference to your study guide of Dr. Dawood,
We can't hear you, bro.
Hold on.
You know I know that feeling, right? Because you know I drive trucks too, brother.
Assalamu alaikum. How about now?
Oh, perfect.
Perfect.
In reference to study guide number 10, the God within, and if I recall the sister's question about whether that's Allah speaking to angels or speaking to himself, I think one of the references in study guide 10, the minister is saying that's also the contrary voices within the self that the God is speaking to. In other words, we all have that as a model. When you want to do something, when you desire to do something or fulfill or manifest something through will, those contrary voices are going to come up. And as Brother Lukman stated, the lesson, why did God make devil? It's something that we all have to, those are all formula, as you said, for us to exercise and work out our own salvation so that we can rise to that. So I think that's one of the references I remember in study guide number 10, if I'm correct. It's the contrary voices within self. So that's Allah. I think the minister says he uses Maulana Muhammad Ali's footnote. The whole history of man is given in that surah or in that ayah of
sir.
Allah speaking to the contrary voices in himself. Assalamu alaikum. That's all.
Walaikum salam. That was
sir.
good, brother. Good sharing. Brother Lukman, you about to say something, sir?
Oh no, I was just bearing witness to what Brother Philip was saying.
You had that look like you want to read something. Yes?
I'm sorry, I had another thought. So you're saying that God himself had the devil voices in him? Or were there's angel voices? Because Brother Lukman said we do have angels within us, within and without. So did God himself have devil?
Well, what's the origin of devil? Everything came about by the presence of God, even the devil. That's that's the negative aspect. Everything has positive and negative. So the negative aspect of God would be devil.
Good point.
But the only difference is in modern time, we have the first perfected being.
Yes, Master Farad Muhammad.
Right.
First,
but we were always taught there was an imperfection in the universe, correct?
Oh, absolutely. The first God was not perfect, but he desired perfection. He put everything in motion to move towards perfection. The messenger said, that's why nothing in the universe is perfectly round. Everything moves in an elliptical motion.
Good point.
Look, even the zero is not perfectly round, even though you have the 1 and the 0 at the beginning. Yeah, but the zero is not perfectly round.
Brother Vincent, were you saying something?
Yes. So I'm currently doing the course in the handbook for pre-clears. And in the chapter the control center on page 46 in relationship to the sister's question, God placing a ruler in the earth, and this has been something that I've been studying for a while, but it is in the 1, 2, 3, in the 4th paragraph. It makes it it's talking about it. It's if I could read it right quick.
Certainly.
it says the environment, and it's talking, it says the environment does not control thought. Thought tries to be cause. However, their body and the environment have certain needs in this action for the conquest of the physical universe. And so thought, the I, that must give permission to be an effect. When it gives permission to be affected, it can then be an effect. And only then can the environment control the body. Thought gives up a sphere of control, and that control sphere can be affected thereafter. Here we have what has passed for the stimulus response mechanism, whereby the individual is re-stimulated or upset or stimulated by the environment.
Mm-hmm.
So
You have 10 seconds, beloved.
I heard somebody say earlier, did Master Farah Muhammad have to struggle? And I would say, in light of this right here, I mean, like all of us are human beings and we got to struggle, but I want us to investigate this in relationship to how we are affected. Um, I, I was our awareness of awareness is affected by the environment in our bodies.
Yes,
You
sir.
know,
Yes, sir. We appreciate that, good brother. I'm going to let brother Lukman answer that.
So I have that page pulled up on my computer, where it says the environment does not control thought, thought tries to be cause. It's very interesting. He says, however, the body and the environment have certain needs in this action for the conquest of the physical universe, and so thought, the I, must give permission to be in effect. So there's two different ways you can look at that. The L. Ron Hubbard would teach that the thetan, or the center of awareness, or the I, is constantly at war with the mesh universe. And the mesh universe is constantly trying to be cause and to cause us to be effect. And really, we are the cause, and the mesh universe is effect because the mesh universe, he says, the mesh universe laws are dependent upon theta laws, and theta laws and mesh laws are two different laws. But it's the theta that produced the mesh universe. Now, that's the way to explain it through the tech. The universe is constantly trying to rule us. And I'll use myself as an example because it's actually kind of funny. But there's many times, I would get ready to go to work and I would say, okay, today I'm gonna do one meal a day or I'm gonna fast today. But it's like the universe says, okay, well, now you have said it. Now I have to test you to see if you're gonna make your word bond. So as soon as I go to work, come to find out the night before or early that morning, someone, their family, would drop off a tray full of brownies or some homemade cookies. So it's like we get tested based on our weakness. So for some of us, cookies or brownies, that's not our test. But for me, sweets, that's my test. So as soon as I say something and put it into the universe, it's like the universe says, okay, I hear what you're saying. Now I'm going to test you. The universe is a suppressor. But really, the beauty of it is the universe, the mesh universe, is no different than a weight that you would use if you go to the gym. You can't build muscle unless you can do reps, correct? So
Mhm.
really, we should, on one level, look forward to the tests because if we can put up the resistance, that's how we build muscle mass, correct?
Hmm.
If we can resist the universe, that's how we increase willpower.
Good
But
teach.
that's what he's saying there. The universe is always going to try to be cause over us because it's trying to rule us. We can't just say, I'm God, I'm the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the creator of the planet Earth, God of the universe, and quote the doggone lessons. We have to bear witness that we're God in our ways and actions, not just by quoting. We have to kun fire kun, be, and it is. We can't just quote our way to righteousness.
Good
So,
point,
Like,
so in what you just
Brother Vincent. You had your time was up, good brother. We have to go
okay,
to
gotcha, my bad.
next person. That's okay, but you can put it in the chat. Put it in the chat, family. You are part of our family. We're gonna make sure we address it. Please put it in the chat. Did Okay, because of the time and what we have left, we have to now do the things that close us out. But we are going to address a couple of things, and we're going to do this quickly between the LTS knowledge brokers. And there's a question, and that question is to you, Brother James, who is the original man?
The original man? Do you mean in the present tense or in the past tense? Because if you look at that question right there, that question is written in the present tense. It's not written in past tense.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So if you go with that specifically, that's talking about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes.
That's not talking about that man 78 trillion years ago. If you look at that in the present tense,
mm-hmm.
H.
so when we get into that, the original man, Asiatic black man, we know all that. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is that present tense. Master Farad Muhammad is that present tense. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he'll be that present tense. The 10,000 that come up under them will be the present tense. 144,000, they'll be that present tense. And eventually the 10 million will be that present tense. Honorable Elijah Muhammad said he knew in which he'd have 10 million followers in America. He said with 10 million, he could take the world. He said he'd need 50,000 laborers in North America alone. And eventually, we'll end up ruling America for a little while, then we'll leave and we'll be given land over in Africa in the Congo region. And we'll basically end up ruling the world. They asked Honorable Elijah Muhammad about his followers being in the government, over the governments of the world. He said, well, no. Well, the thing is, they'll be the advisors to many of the kings and presidents and things throughout the world. So they'll have a hand in the government, but not where they're over it totally. But Master Farad Muhammad told the messenger, those 10,000, those 144,000, they would serve as governors around the world. And then if you look at the word governor, governor is part of what? A transmission in a car. And so what were we told to do? Be ye not conformed, but be what? Be ye transformed. Isn't it something that transmission and transform serve the same purpose? Be ye transformed how? By the renewing of the mind.
Good.
So our minds have to be renewed.
Yes, sir.
And then we'll serve that purpose. Who is the original man? The original man starts off with the messenger being made, and then he, through the process that he went through, we'll all have to go through that process. We're watching Minister Farrakhan being made perfect right in our face. That's why he's the heart of the Holy Quran, Surah 36, which is Yasin, O perfect man. And that's why you have planet Mercury 36 million miles from the sun. And it makes a rotation around the sun every 88 days. Why every 88 days? Because 8 and 8 down the way Elijah Muhammad said in Theology Time, talking about the ministry, he said, and he will get you to the other side. Once he gets you to the other side, he will not say, look what I have done. He will say, look what Allah has done. And the word Mercury means messenger of the gods, not of the God, but the gods, plural. And so that's Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, representation, planet Mercury, Yasin, O perfect man, heart of the Holy Quran. And I yield.
Yes, sir. Brother Dr. Wadud.
Yes, sir. For the sake of time, just one quick statement. And in agreement with Brother James, looking at it from the present tense, who is present tense, the original man, Master Fard Muhammad, and connecting it with the previous discussion, the God said that he could make a man weak and wicked and give him power and dominion to rule and then destroy him in one day. I'm paraphrasing, without becoming victim to his civilization, which would be the mesh universe around him. We were told that the messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, could never catch Master Fard Muhammad sleeping, that he would look in the keyhole and see the Master Fard Muhammad's eye looking back at him when he tried to catch him sleeping. So he is the original man because he has become cause over the mesh universe, as Brother James identified properly, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad as well. I remember very last point, I remember hearing that the minister once received message from the most honorable Elijah Muhammad that he told him that he can order things from around the world and sit as a god. And I believe this is when he instructed the minister to go to Atlanta and give a speech in a certain way. And he said, I can order cows. I hear certain things about them and I say, get those. So he could sit as a god and order things from around the world without ever leaving his living room. And then he told the minister, so I think, or I'm paraphrasing, I can tell you how to go to Atlanta and make a speech and have it come out to be victorious. And I yield.
Yes, sir. We appreciate that. Okay, so we got to get ready to wrap things up. I saw Sister Angela. She said, "Who is God lecture?" Is that a lecture that
That was 19, is that 1992?
um
Who is God? Or is that 90? No, wait, that was
1991
91. That was at the church. The
in
minister
Christ
was dressed in
Universal.
white. Huh?
Yes, sir. Christ Universal.
Christ Universal, yes.
okay.
So that lecture will answer a lot of what we spoke about today in that lecture.
Yes, sir. Oh, good point. Thank you, Brother Vincent. We appreciate you, family. We got to do these closing remarks, and here we go. This is bearing witness that the Quran says that the original man is God, the black man. Surah Al-Anam, Surah 6, Ayat 9, which states, and if we had made him an angel, we would have made him a man, and we would certainly have confused them in a matter which they had already covered with confusion. Now, going to the Bible to back that up, John chapter 10, verse 34, New Testament. Jesus answered them, is it not written in your law, I have said you are gods? Psalms 82:6, I said you are gods. You are all sons of the Most High. And within that, Brother Lukman, we're going to make sure that we go out in prayer. We're going to get ready to close this ship out, but I want you to make a statement for at least 90 seconds, and then we'll say the prayer.
Yes, sir. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone for coming out. Whatever questions you may have had that were not answered, real quickly, please put them in the chat so that we can have a record of those questions and we can come back and address those questions at on a future LTS show. But that's pretty much all I have to say at this point. I thank everyone for the contributions, the thoughts, and I pray a lot that in the future we bring some more people with us and we have some more questions and all of us get into our own studies so we can, as the minister says, we can find the jewels that Allah shows us.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to start with position of prayer, please. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah alamin irrahmanirrahim. Maliki yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. Master of the day of judgment in which we now live, thee alone do we serve, thine aid do we seek. Please, Allah, guide us on the straight path, the path upon whom thou hast bestowed favors, not the path upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray after hearing thy teachings. Ameen.
Thank you, family. We love you, we appreciate you, and we thank Allah for all of you. And we pray that you come on every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. You all have a blessed one. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Walaikum salam, sir.
Sir.
Yes?
Yes.
Someone saying something? Okay, thank you. All right, family.